This Apollo control at 4 hours 4 minutes. Apollo 11's velocity now is 17,000. 00152.
It's rare that a game sticks with me for years after I play it. It really does take a special something to reserve a spot in my garbage land-filled mind. And there's a very good reason Prey has a first-class VIP booth in my frontal cranium. Too bad it's lonely up there. The closest it has to company is Harrier Dubois. He's a mess, but he's my special mess. By the way, this is about Prey 2017. It's not to be confused with Prey 2006. Two completely different games that were, well, admittedly both abused by the crack of Bethesda's whip. In a world where modern gaming is dominated by titles that are made to be played forever, with the intention of being fueled by a continuous source of income via season passes and $20 FOMO furry skins, there's a unique experience to be had with a game that, with years even after finishing, keeps you thinking about it in this weird seductive Stockholm syndrome. Whether it be from dumb fun character moments and set pieces presented perfectly in a linear 6-hour playthrough, or a more purposeful discussion on the morals through themes and story beats. No, that's enough wine. Leave it there, sir. They leave a lot of itches unscratchable, an insatiable want for more, and the only way to soothe it is to endlessly recap and discuss it detail by detail with friends or, God forbid, strangers. When a game continues to be discussed far beyond what it had to offer, it has then far exceeded its job as a piece of art. Art like the patches I have on this here spacesuit. Don't touch it, it's real Ramsker branding. Ever wanted to fulfill your dream of being a corporate space overlord? Well, now you can with my new evil space corporate capitalist t-shirts, with its slick embroidered design woven by the first homeless man I could find. Wearing this shirt is like wearing the mark of sacrifice, and instead of demons chasing you, it's your dad hunting you down for using his credit card. And don't forget the patches. These are like Call of Duty perks, but instead, they scare away both men and women. Nobody will want you. You can add these to any article of clothing like jackets and programmer socks. And you could do this by simply ironing them on. And don't forget this little guy. You wouldn't forget him, would you? Look at his face. Don't leave him hanging. So I hope you guys go check it out and help support the inflation fetish of my wallet. Who knows? Maybe one day, there could be a certain 6-foot pillow. In Prey, you play as Morgan Yu, who is brother of Alex Yu, who are both nepo babies in charge of the Talos 1 station, owned by the company Transtar. Aboard Talos 1, experiments are experimented. Research operations are held to extract materials from a xenospecies called the Typhons. And the Typhons have special abilities like telekinesis and reading your thoughts.
I know you used summons on Elden Ring.
So of course, Transtar is trying to yoink the Typhon abilities and put it into humans by using neuromods, which is basically a part of the cosmic horror genre's eyeball-flavored yakitori. Oh look, the red one's Morgan's, and this one's Isaac Clarke's, and this one's is... Oh, right. Though Transtar is up to something dubious, yet you have no memory of this because, as it turns out, these neuromods can wipe your memory when you uninstall them. But my Morgan Yu reuses the same needle because we care about cost effectiveness. If Morgan is a man, or woman, of science, how will they continue to science if memory no has? Not to worry, because we have a guy called January. They're here to store Morgan's memories that they'd lose in the uninstallation process. So much so that they almost act with a consciousness of their own, as a distant echo of the player character who has lost all the context and initial motives of our Morgan before losing their memory. So naturally, they lead you to follow the motives of a past you. Only before Alex, your human brother, tries to win you over to his side in an attempt of taking advantage of your memory loss.
Good luck with your new life.
And because this is an immersive sim with a lobotomized protagonist left with zero memory, this allows you to have, let's say this together with reverb now, agency! With the spicy kick of moral questioning. Throughout the game, you are given quests like, go retrieve this life-saving medicine for Michaela, or don't. It's okay, don't worry about me.
It's not really okay.
A train is about to hit a bunch of people, so do you push the fat guy onto the rail tracks? If I was Mark Wahlberg and I was here, I would simply tell the train no. And then I'd go and make Ted 3. I reckon the universe of Prey asks questions on morality and existence that cannot be answered because the world is inhabited by people of unique opinions, which themselves are ideas and concepts that cannot be baked as objective.
I'd probably do the same thing.
Like a pyro video releasing in 2025, or Australia even being real.
Draw.
Sure, we can mitigate issues by making a choice, but now we may be held responsible for the misfortune of others down the track. Prey is basically one giant trolley problem with questions that hold no right or wrong answer. Only moral dilemmas that leave us questioning whether we did do the right thing or not. That which the game will not answer for you. Remember that you saved Michaela? Well, at one point, she asks you to find her father, Yuri. Though all that you can find that remains of him is an illegal recording that depicts Yuri being used as testing fodder, in which he is killed by a mimic Typhon.
Permission to release? Morgan? What you do kills us both. Release.
A test approved by Morgan Yu. You are Morgan Yu. You are. Oh no! You did some shit you don't remember! It recontextualizes the main character's history. Morgan undoubtedly made immoral decisions for the sake of the company's research, but we never knew that when we began playing as Morgan. Of course, it's a video game. It's aware that you are enticed to play like a good boy, since good boys get good things, and bad boys get a mid-sequel. Because of this situation, you are presented the choice of sending the file to Michaela or deleting it. Do you sweep this under the rug to avoid responsibility? Or do you think it's worth Michaela gets closure, even if it hurts her? Michaela, I bring news! Understandably, Michaela is upset with you.
Why would you save me to do this? To buy back some guilt? So I'd forgive you? You don't even understand what it means to be human.
You did, even though you have no memory, authorize the procedure to kill him.
Objection!
Objection, Your Honor! The glove doesn't fit. The best part is that both choices are inconsequential. The game made this dilemma for your moral compass that exists outside of the game. Is it better to hide the truth for your sake? Or do you be honest, risking her, albeit rightfully so, losing trust in you? She eventually forgives you as she recognizes you have no memory of the incident. Because are you really the same Morgan now as Morgan was before the game began? Can a Morgan with a memory wiped of their past actions be held accountable for them?
How's your eye? Still red?
Transtar is not a company of good faith, and Morgan is just as much as a man of science first and people second as Alex. Morgan had a brief relationship with Michaela, and even his speech is cold and clinical about it.
Not on speaking terms. Had brief relationship. You ended it when tests began. She believes it is because you discovered her medical condition, paraplexis. Convenient, but false. Severing ties seemed prudent to you. Less painful, given the impending memory loss.
Even acknowledging he's using his memory loss as a crutch to have an easy out, calling severing ties a prudent action for himself, or Talos One. Transtar is an anxious company with rivals who are competing with them, so naturally their means to achieve their goals above their competitors have to be evil. In the universe of Prey, Russia and America are cooperating in space exploration, and Russia is more than happy to provide some human resources. No, I mean human resources. Michaela's father was a prison laborer, and he had volunteered to board Talos One so he could escape. That is quotation marks in there. But this volunteer program was a front to get easy disposable test subjects, because one of the main ways that Typhons multiply is by killing a living being. So Yuri must have been an awful person to unknowingly be sentenced to death, right? What's half the purpose he'd be in prison in the first place? Phone in your answers on the buzzer now. You have 3 seconds. That's right, you're all wrong. It was for protesting the Soviet invasion of India.
My father, he was imprisoned for questioning the Soviet intervention in India. Many prisoners are lost in Siberian labor camps, but my father vanished. The only thing I knew for certain was Transtar was recruiting volunteers from those labor camps. He was sent here. I'm sure of it.
Wait, so you mean to tell me?
Objection!
Wait, to what? Transtar needed Typhon materials to make neuromods, but realized the Typhons would run out if they kept killing them for said materials, and the only way they could reproduce is by killing a living being. So the solution is to bring in people who are disposable, such as forgettable criminals. But this begs the question of whether those test subjects were justly convicted, given unjust punishments depending on the severity of their crime. It's a Soylent Green type of tale in the shape of a food chain. Transtar is a private company who plan to sell neuromods, and neuromods are made from real people just to enhance the skills and abilities for people who are able to afford the neuromods. The use of neuromods are a class divide. Furthermore, this was all unbeknownst to the rest of the Talos One crew. They gave their employees neuromods without informing them of that secret Typhon source.
Alex, I figured it out. Just too late.
Graves, are you still in fabrication?
The receptor molecules, exotic neurotransmitters, we didn't synthesize them. And There's no terrestrial source. We've been shoving it into our skulls. It all comes from them. But you never...
I'm going to send someone to help you.
I need to get this out now.
And this deception knows no bounds. Alex Yu even kept his brother Morgan in an Earth-like simulation, making him run through standard tests. Afterwards, every new day resetting Morgan's memory, starting over, made to live the same day over and over and over and over. After all, one of your canon weaknesses is a toxic family. But surely there could be a reason he's locked in a simulation of home, and why the test chambers are behind glass. Neuromods are known to enhance and give skills like learning an instrument or a language, but because we have main character syndrome, we are able to install the Typhon's abilities like Mimic or Kinetic Blast, so we discover later on that they are testing Morgan's potential Typhon abilities, which explains why they are confused as to why you are performing the challenges like a regular person. They conduct these tests behind glass cages because they understand that the Typhons are an unempathetic kind of being. They also understand that if you adopt traits of another kind, another personality, you could be at risk of becoming a mirror version of that you adopted from. And what is wired into Typhon DNA as a survival instinct? Kill! If you use the Typhon abilities around Sarah Alazar and a group in Cargo Bay A, they will attack you. To them, you are one of them, indistinguishable from a Typhon because you are no longer human.
To think it was considered chicanery.
The scientists at the start of the game have you run personality tests that begin to persist on whether Morgan is an empath girl boss or not, just so they can evaluate how different Morgan's personality changes with each new memory reset and neuromod install. Are you showing symptoms of the Typhon's instincts? Is it why Morgan is kept in an environment similar to their home, to counterbalance the potential of Morgan going full Typhon and forgetting his human self?
Why are we making this video?
Right. Because my big brother's paranoid. Psychometric data is showing statistically significant variance in personality patterns between trial runs of the new neuromods. Whatever. I feel more like myself than ever. I mean, look at this. We did it, Alex. It's real.
Enjoy it while you can, because in a few minutes, it'll all be gone when we strip out the neuromods and reset.
I know, including my memory of it.
Variance in personality patterns. The devs of Prey are aware when players are given a choice that they tend to pick the goodest of good options possible, or the deterrence of a lesser reward from evil choices. Arcane acknowledged this bias, so to break it, they created options that are neither right or wrong, a test of what each individual player thinks is the correct option, with varying rewards that have their own benefits. Sure, evil-er options do exist, but you are not punished for doing them. The RPG gameplay is in theme of Prey's messaging about identity. You picking your flavor of neuromod upgrades, choosing how you play is inherently you building identity, which is perfect because Morgan begins as a blank slate. No playstyle is the correct one, and that is the freedom of identity.
I know who made me, and why. Did someone make you, Morgan?
Oh, it's meta! In a recording, Morgan dismisses the idea of blowing up Taliswan to stop the spread of the Typhons, before realizing much later on how out of hand it got, and how Alex has him locked in a loop, and that, maybe blowing up Taliswan could be the move. When you really think about it, but that also means killing potential survivors on board also. But on the other hand, you could escape with as many people as possible alive. Even the angry mercenary pursuers that your parents sent out to kill you. They do that, but that also means risking bringing Typhon organisms within Morgan back to Earth. No ending is the right ending, much like the trolley problem. It is not asking you to pick true, let's say, evil options, only what you think in your eyes is the best choice to make. So if you see that both choices kind of suck in the long term, well, I could just leave and not risk ruining the lives of others, right? No, this is literally the only time you are punished if you use the escape pod to leave by yourself, abandoning everyone aboard and forfeiting the help you were asked of. Both January and Alex call you a quitter and short-sighted, and you do leave the Typhon to run rife on Taliswan.
Of all the ways the test could have changed you, this was the last one I expected. You just... quitting.
Even if you choose to have no choice, you are still making a choice. After you finally beat the game, you find out you're running a simulation as a Typhon.
How did it do?
Activation of the mirror neurons is promising. Empathy quotient shows to be exceptionally high.
This reveal is incredible because now the game is directly talking to the player, evaluating the choices that they made.
It probably thinks it was dreaming, that nothing mattered.
The ending is very conscious about Prey itself being a video game. It knows that when capital G gamers engage with media, that it's all inconsequential, that nothing within this digital world matters.
What the hell are you doing?
The ending is a soft reminder that even if you did sneak off to poke a few needles in you, that they knew all along. If you have to sneak off to use neuromods, is it really worth it? Neuromods. It's all queefed up. What's better is, every new game you start could possibly be a fresh new Typhon being ran through the same simulation for testing before they are evaluated again. When you leave Talos 1 early, you are told,
We failed. This isn't the one.
Start over.
Before, I assume, we are to be dumped in the other pile of space debris.
Now that I think about it, Transtar really is just SpaceX in a future where John Kennedy wasn't assassinated. Though, what was it again that Alex wants to put in the Typhon?
Prey has heavy themes of empathy, so that...
All their wonderful abilities, there's one thing we can do that they can't. Empathize with the suffering of another living creature.
We spent years trying to put what you can do into us. We never tried putting what we can do into you. Until now.
Prey holds a mirror to the player to show that it sees you. Alex wanting to alter Typhon instincts to empathize with humans is a metaphor for Alex trying to alter gamer instincts to make them less racist. Okay, I kid, but it's actually attempting to flip one's perspective on how they engage with games. Killing a pedestrian in GTA won't amount to much because it's a video game, right? Last of Us 2 NPCs say names, so you should feel bad. But in Prey, you are the Typhon in that DX Racer chair that your dad bought you. It reminds you of moments that you may have thought insignificant or forgotten about. You did not play the game played you. Teaching the Typhons empathy at first makes sense, but the issue is, whose idea of empathy are they using as a baseline? The company standard?
What you experienced was a reconstruction based on Morgan's memories.
We don't even know who the real Morgan was like. If it is based on Morgan's memories, did they actually use their memory loss as a way to end the relationship with Michaela, as well as killing her dad for the sake of work? However, at the same time, after a 5th cycle of memory loss, they saw the Typhon experiments and due to personality changes, wanted the station shut down. Who's to say for sure how the real Morgan felt after their final memory wipe, being merely an observer of their older personality? That said, this ultimately makes me beg the question, would extracting the psyche from a human and placing it within a Typhon mean that the Typhon will adopt the human traits accurately? Will the Typhon just be a facsimile of our ideas?
You're assuming he thinks like us.
They are dissatisfied if you leave Talos 1 alone, choosing not to get involved, because it does not confirm their bias. But this bias can even fall into futility, as there is even an option to kill Alex. A hint of Typhon instincts still remain. And what about January? It acts convincingly human with its own thoughts, yet strictly obeys directives, with, being an AI drone that operates based off of Morgan's memories, personalities, and motives of an older Morgan pre-memory wipe. January agrees and disagrees with your actions, but not of its own volition. It will pick what it feels is the best way to accomplish its goals. It will even kill December, who has the antithesis of January's goals, before December could even help you.
That operator was an earlier, defective model. Or something worse. Alex, the Typhon, they're all working against you. Trust yourself. Trust the video you made.
But it will never have the freedom of its own motivations, thoughts, emotions, or even empathy. We all have an idea of what empathy feels like, or what we know what it is, but we will not experience it the same way as each other. And I know I'm better because I am an empath with a bag of colorful crystals. Do we experience empathy the same way as everyone else? How do I know that I see the color red or feel the heat of fire the same way as you? I would never be able to understand how everyone else sees and feels the world, but that is what makes people unique. And to be unique is what makes a human. So in what way would the Typhons feel empathy if we took that from a person or a few? How will a Typhon's instincts mesh with a conscious understanding of empathy or any other human nature? That also we can never know, because Prey leaves this up to interpretations. Let's use the franchise Annihilation to expand on this idea. To avoid confusion, I'm gonna call Area X the Shimmer. In the film, when Lena is attacked by the Shimmer's alien at the end, it isn't because it's hostile. It's taking her DNA, learning her human behaviors, subtleties, instincts. Earlier in the movie, we are introduced to a husband who has also been within the Shimmer. He returns home after a year, and of course, Lena goes to hug him and do a little smoochy smooch, but he just stands there? Wow, how weird and strange that he's acting all weird and strange.
No one knew anything about your unit. I contacted everyone. Was it covert?
Maybe.
Obviously, we find out that the husband in the scene is not her real husband, but a doppelganger, and that this version of her husband is trying to imitate emotion. Ah, okay, that's a funny trick. So where's the real one? Well, I guess that solves that issue. Him answering Lena's questions about his life in a stunted and confused manner. Is the Shimmer genuinely trying to learn what it's trying to portray, but doesn't quite understand what makes an emotion so human? He begins with one-worded answers and quickly develops how to string sentences together.
What's that mean, maybe?
Okay, yeah. It's covert. Yeah, I think so.
Pakistan again?
I don't know.
We are even hinted that it has his memories when it says,
The door was open and I saw you. I recognized you.
In the book Annihilation, during a flashback scene, the biologist's husband also reappears after a year away on his expedition in the Zone, or the Shimmer, or the Storm. There's a lot of names for this thing. Though the main character describes his emotes as flashing an imitation of his old infuriating smile.
But in its blankness, I sensed something mournful. Something left inside that wanted to communicate, but couldn't. My husband had never been mournful or melancholy as long as I'd known him, and this frightened me a little.
The Typhons by nature are not evil. Their act of killing is an instinctual act taught to it by generations of existence through the unconscious desire to survive and reproduce. That which to the likes of a bear, a shark, an alligator, or the Neanderthalian human's incessant need to gamble just another $10, it can't hurt. If the Typhons were to learn empathy, Transtar will likely install their idea of empathy, one that is misguided and with an ulterior motive, masked by kindness. And for Annihilation's case, this Shimmer's got a lot correct about him. It's got his cells, his genes, his memories, but at the very core, it is an outsider's view, an alien perspective of what it believes how people behave, react, and interact with the world and the people around them. It will never truly understand how to be human. It can only imitate.
And your work? Oh, you know, he said, as if he'd only been away a few weeks. As if I were a colleague, not his lover, his wife. Oh, you know, the same as always. Nothing really new. He drank deeply from his orange juice, really drank to savor it, so that for a minute or two, nothing existed in the house but his enjoyment.
In the book, his doppelganger eventually dies. It is a facsimile of a human, a surface-level understanding. This trial ends in error as the lifespan of the Shimmer's doppelgangers are short-lived. In the movie, the alien assimilates, mirroring what Lena is doing because it thinks it's a human response. It's learning, but it cannot be human with the complexity and nuances of one, because it simply never was. The scene before shows this iridescent mass taking blood from Lena directly, immediately mutating it, trying to duplicate and mimic it. It feels almost out of control of its own instinct. Anything on Earth is just as alien to it as it is alien to Earth. It's treating the Earth's makeup like it's shuffling a Rubik's Cube it cannot solve. A direct part of her is in the Shimmer now, just as it put parts of itself into Lena and the crew the moment they entered. She has been altered so much that when Lena asks if her husband is really Kane, the alien version of Kane asks if she is really Lena.
You aren't Kane. Are you?
I don't think so. Are you Lena?
And the results say, you are not the real Lena. The alien can't even tell its own kind. It's confused. It has manipulated genes and given life of its own volition. In the real world, AI is our version of the Shimmer that's force-fed hours and effort of images, text, voices, and video made by human hands in an effort to replicate it while it forgets to recognize the human nuances. It mimics things made by humans without understanding them. ChatGPT, when prompted, regurgitates a bile of thousands and thousands of answers refined down into a definitive human-appearing answer. It may be convincing, but it misses an essential part of creating: personality. If something is made by a person, a piece of that person is inherently within that thing. A painting made by AI may be mesmerizing, but it will never hold the meaningful weight of a human-made painting. There is no struggle, no overcoming a failure, no self-development to be found in a painting that hasn't been touched by the hands of a person whose whole life and experiences was lived up until the point of his existence, because it creates a facsimile of what we can do, yet it is devoid of purpose, history, and emotion. It can never truly create text or images like a human because it is simply not. The Typhons may behave like a human and be civilized, but how much of their human side is of their own volition and not something that we taught them? There are literally enemies called mimics which mimic random objects in the world. This AI corner of the internet is our own little Area X, and it is ever expanding. At the end of book 1, the biologist, after all of her crew are dead, after she is left alone with the very book she's been writing that you are reading, she remarks,
I am aware that all of this speculation is incomplete, inexact, inaccurate, useless. If I don't have real answers, it is because we still don't know what questions to ask. Our instruments are useless, our methodology broken, our motivations selfish.
Selfish. Like not buying my merch from this video to change the nature of the Typhons so we can coexist with them too is a selfish act. We invaded their space, took their DNA, and decided to alter it when it endangered us. It is an equal scenario between a Typhon and a human to be unalike, and they are threatened by each other's existence. And the Transtar company is even ran on risk, fueled by fear of its competitors. Even when cooperating with the Soviet Union in this universe, they are still trying to get the upper hand against them, just in case.
And if it does work, is it worth it? The people that come after us will be smarter, stronger, immortal. They can judge us if they want. But they'll know they exist because of the things we did.
Again, it roots back to instincts, the need to fend off of an outer tribe that isn't one of our own. Just how America raced them to the atomic bomb or to put man in space. If a country creates a technology that's revolutionary for the human race, that places this country above the rest, a display of power and knowledge. Prey asks questions and purposefully does not answer them because they are unable to be answered directly in a world that is uncertain and unpredictable. Life is just one big trolley problem where we pick what we believe is the best outcome for our circumstances. But that's 3 scary 5 me, which is why I live life like a king, where I sit at home playing video games all day. Oh, thanks, Dad. Plus, getting a job is intimidating, and that whole numbers thing, it's confusing. Well, if I could read what that says.